Hi everyone, so this is my review on Krisitn Cashore's Fire. This is the prequel / companion novel to Graceling, and I very much enjoyed this book. I give it a solid 4 stars out of 5. A quick explanation, in Graceling we have people who are graced, and so they're gifted with extraordinary abilities in any given field, and they're recognisable by their different coloured eyes. In Fire, we are in the kingdom of the Dells, which is one of the 7 kingdoms, and in the Dells, rather than Gracelings, you have monsters. Now, monsters are, they can take the shape of anything, so you can have a monster rabbit or a monster cat or, anything. And occasionally, it's quite rare, but you can have monster humans, and they're identifiable by their brilliant colouring and their beauty. And so there are predator monsters as well. You can have monster raptors, which are very deadly and dangerous, and everyone is terrified of them, including fellow monsters, because monsters have a connection to one another and an affinity towards each other, and they crave one another's blood as well. It's all very interesting and interconnected. Where am I? And yes, monsters can stun and awe people with their beauty. Human monsters in particular, because they are so aesthetically pleasing, they'll have brilliant coloured hair and really, really beautiful features. They can inspire lust and jealousy and wonderment and all this sort of thing. They heighten emotions and responses, essentially. And also human monsters, well, from what I can tell at least, also are gifted with additional heightened senses and abilities anyway. Our protagonist, Fire, is the only remaining human monster, and she's gifted with telepathy and mind control, which she really dislikes having, and is very morally questionable for her as to how she uses it and when and that kind of thing. Her dad was a monster, literally, and also figuratively, because he was an asshole, and he was very selfish and greedy, and loved to manipulate his power because of his monster abilities and his appearance. And he made a mess of shit. He advised the previous king really badly. He ran the kingdom to the ground, and everything's in shambles now. There's so much mess as a result of the crap he got up to. He was a real dick, and he had a very messed up, warped kind of relationship with his daughter. She still loved him, though. It was very sad, quite tragic to discover all the backstory in this. But because of everything he's done, Fire is quite disliked and distrusted by almost everybody in the kingdom for her dad's actions, and the theme of parents and what they do and the consequences of their actions leading through to their children and carrying responsibility through generations and stuff is a central theme in the book. I really enjoyed the novel. I thought that Fire was a very, very relatable protagonist, very different from Katsa in Graceling. A lot of people took issue with Katsa because they felt she was too self-consciously girl power and independent. They didn't like, especially, her beliefs in terms of marriage and parenting. She didn't want to get married and she didn't want to have kids. Fire is a much more, I guess, openly affectionate and warm kind of person. She's still very independent in her own way, though. It's just a lot more quiet and kind of subtle, I suppose. And yes, she is dragged into a lot of political intrigue and stuff to do with the royal family in the Dells because of what her dad did, and the fact that there is an impending war coming. Kingdoms to the north and south of the Dells want to go at war and want to kind of try to take siege of the kingdom because it's still all messed up and they're still trying to rebuild everything and fix all the crap. And she gets unwittingly, really reluctantly drawn into things because of her capabilities and her role, I suppose, because of her dad. And, yeah, it's just lots of... I found it really interesting, and I was compelled to keep reading and try and work out everyone's allegiances and their motivations and what the hell was going on. And there's a lot of different relationships featured in the book. Supporting characters are great. There's some really great minor characters there. I love how Krisitn Cashore deals with relationships because they're very human, they're very, very flawed. Well, the characters themselves are very flawed too. And I just think it's really genuine, all the interactions between people, because it's not idealised and it's not always very pretty, and people don't always behave very well towards one another. and I just think it's very honest. There's actually kind of, in a way, sort of 3 love stories for Fire in this book, all of which were very unique in their own right. There's a central one, which you know is your main love story, but there's other things going on. She's in a relationship with someone at the start of the book when it opens, and I think that might make some readers get pissy, I don't know. It is an open relationship because the character that she's with, the guy, is a bit of a man whore, and he's quite flirtatious and kind of just goes with everybody. That his character alone might make people really edgy and unsure as to how you feel about him. I don't really know myself how I feel. At times he was really very likable, and his emotions were genuine and believable, but his actions, he was just very, very immature and very irresponsible, and he did a lot of stuff that you really just liked him for. But he was never a bad guy at all, and Fire really did sincerely care for him, and yeah, I found their relationship interesting, but I can see how a lot of people really call it into question. I love that this is this series of books really is set in a quite, like, indefinable time period. You don't quite know what it's set, so it feels sort of medieval, but there's modern things like put in there, so you think like certain things are like anachronisms, but they're not, so it's kind of its own unique world. Like, for example, there's contraceptive herbs you can take, so, you know, there's like birth control stuff going on, and there's lots of advances in like medical science, things that we don't even have. So yeah, I just thought it was kind of cool that it does bring up the issue again of like sexual relationships without the desire to have kids. Fire is quite maternal and really like loves being around children, but she's adamant that she will not have her own children because they would be monsters as well. And she saw how her dad was as a parent and how much trouble it causes, and she just doesn't want them to have the kind of life she's led, because being a monster gives her so much pain and grief and trouble every single day, and she hates it. And it is very much about her coming to really, really difficult path of self-acceptance, because it does suck ass to be a monster, a human monster. I just really felt for her throughout the book. She's not nearly as physically active as Katza was in Graceling, but I think I still felt she had a very strong presence about her. It's just a very different feel to it. And, you know, her kind of role in things came in from a different angle, I suppose. And yeah, a lot of the supporting characters I really liked. The central love story I thought was really sweet. It was very slow moving and it progressed really gradually, and I really came to care for the guy as well. I thought he was nice. And yeah, there's also one character who comes in from Graceling, and you'll know who he is when I use the words disturbing and really unsettling and really, really, really hideous. He features in the prologue to the book, and from the outset you're intrigued, but I was horrified. It's so I was shuddering while reading it. I just think, yeah, if ever one of Krisitn Cashore's characters was kind of wholly evil, it's probably this guy. Yeah, so there is some stuff that carries through from Graceling, but yeah, I just think it's really cool. It makes this big jigsaw puzzle and kind of very slowly fits together. And I'm really looking forward to Bitter Blue, which is the kind of direct sequel to Graceling, sorta. So yeah, I really like Krisitn Cashore's writing and her characters and the relationships between people, and I thought the mythology of the monsters was really cool too. So yeah, a solid 4 stars for Fire by Krisitn Cashore.